For your Caesar.
It's a 10 pose production.
For your Caesar.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar. Cardiff City ride with me for your Caesar. For your Caesar. Cardiff City get litty for your Caesar. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. For your Caesar. Grab a little something for your Caesar. We the geezers. Swagger stone cold like freezers. She want a diff boy. She want Starvz, not fit.
Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast. It is Sunday. We are going to talk a lot of stuff because my oh my, is there stuff coming around at the moment. But we're going to talk about loads of stuff. We're going to talk about the game yesterday. We're going to talk about the upcoming game on Saturday. We're going to talk about a couple of transfery things. We're going to talk about a scheduled meeting. I'm sure we'll mention all the takeover talk. We'll talk about my little last-minute stint as a co-commentator at the Under-21s, which was a lot of fun on Friday. Really enjoyed that and got to have a good chat with Gav Chesterfield and Tom Ramsell and Darren Pearce. And yeah, it was good. It was cool. But I really enjoyed it. And apparently, so I'm told, natural as a co-commentator. Who would have thought? But yeah, so I might do that again. My problem is the Cymru Sport do not have the rights to cover the Cardiff City games. So that's a bit of a shame, really. But there we go. It is what it is. Cymru Sport radio station. My Cymru Sport radio show is coming back very soon. I don't think it'll be this week. I think it'll be the week after. Going first week of the season. Already got a couple of ex-players lined up for the old guests. So if you're not familiar with that radio show, it's usually, well, last season it was on a Wednesday, 7 till 9. First hour is all Cardiff City. We usually have a couple of ex-footballers on for like 10 minutes here and there, little chat, whatever. We have some fans on. And then the second hour is all about Welsh football, whether that's grassroots, national team, whatever we want to talk, whatever the big stories are that week in, or whatever subject we want to cover in that week within Welsh football. That's what we'll talk about. We'll also be opening that up to be a phone-in show as well. So you may have noticed that they're in the intro to, I think it was on the clips earlier as well. There is a phone number on there. So we'll be opening that up soon as well. I was just checking my messages. So there we go. But yeah, look, it is what it is. It was, and if you didn't catch that earlier, because the last 2 days have been a bit mad for me. So I haven't been able to get the old lunchtime videos out. So I dropped a couple of short interviews, only sort of 3 to 5 minutes. I had one with Gavin Chesterfield, who's the head of Cardiff City's Academy, and one with Darren Pearce, who's the Under-21s manager. I dropped them earlier on. You know, it's mainly focused, of course, on the young players, talking about the game on Friday against Merthyr, which was a very young Under-21 side, in fairness, because a lot of their players are with the first team, or certainly some of them. And yeah, it was good, though. It was a really enjoyable game. And it was also a great, like, Manny Barton came off the bench and he was just electric, and it was really exciting to see him. But I tell you who is a player is Matthew Apter. Played in central midfield for Cardiff City, his Under-21s, and he was absolutely everywhere. Phenomenal in the tackle, the physicality, great passing as well. It really was at the heart of everything, won pretty much all his duels. Very impressive. And then watching Cardiff on Saturday against Notts County, I couldn't help but think that they were lacking that bit of physicality maybe in some areas. So that's an interesting little thing. Got some really good youngsters down there. I'm trying to think now. I was going to say I don't think any of them will feature this year, but do you know what? I wouldn't be shocked. Manny Barton is electric. He's so direct and skillful that, you know, depending on who we bring in, if we don't bring many players in now in this next week or two, I could see Manny Barton getting some minutes, you know, later in the season, maybe even in the, you know, he might get some in the cups. But the two centre backs, De Bono And Keita really impressed me because Keita had a bit of a shaky start and he scored an own goal, which he couldn't do anything about. He had to try and clear it and it just came off him and went in. But after that, their passing, their physicality, both two big boys, but very good at passing the football. So that was kind of interesting to see those two because I'd heard about both and to sort of see it up close and I really sort of focused in on the sort of tactical side. But they played some good stuff. But for some of the younger lads in the team, I think it was a big physical test. There was a couple of the Merthyr players who were, they're proper men, like, and some of these kids haven't played against men. So, yeah, it was a good experience for them. Good preseason results don't matter. But moving on to the first team. So, Notts County yesterday. It was a bit of a, like, if we're being honest, a bit of a come down from the QPR performance. I think the QPR performance was so dominant. That first 45 minutes to an hour was so dominant that it was difficult not to be excited by it. I think yesterday, the first half was okay, decent. And I think some individuals didn't do themselves any harm. But I didn't think we looked as fluent. And what was interesting is when Notts County really put it on us in the press and the physicality, we resorted to type almost, and we started to take too many touches and get caught on the ball and things like that. Whereas in midweek, I forget which day it was now, Wednesday, Thursday, when we played QPR in midweek, in the second half, when QPR got into the game and they put it on us a bit and they pressed, we still stuck to that sort of 1-2 touch and we played ourselves out with it and played ourselves through it and we got back sort of on top and got hold of the game. So that was an interesting dynamic. I think yesterday was a good test because we needed that really physical, aggressive test in the preseason coming into the season. So I think, result doesn't matter. Doesn't. But you can't ignore that there's some defensive frailties there. I think you can not ignore also that defensively we missed Dylan Lawler. Now, I know certain people will say, you're putting too much pressure on him. But the fact is, in pre-season, he's been our best defender, both from a ball playing, a positional, and a defensive point of view. All of those aspects, he's been the best defender. And I didn't think we looked as secure in possession or defensively without him. Now, some people will disagree with that, and I'm fine. Tell me why you disagree. We're all about opinions. So that's a little bit of a worry that an 18, 19-year-old who's at the start of his, professional men's career is missed that much defensively. I thought Pacquiao did all right. You think he was pretty good going forward. I thought Eli King was very good in the first half, particularly. I thought he was very good. He gives us that bit of aggression. Alex Robertson got a nasty. That was an absolutely outrageous tackle for a preseason friendly. No need for it. And he's lucky like his leg wasn't really planted to the ground because that would have been a leg breaker. Nasty gash. Got some stitches in there. I would be very surprised if he's in the squad next week. So that's not what you want. I thought it was good that we looked after Isaac Davis. The messages coming out with the club at the moment are it's nothing serious, just a precaution. As soon as he felt like a little bit of a twinge, they just had him off straight away. That's good. That's the right way to go about it. Protect him because he's going to be a massive asset if he's fit. Sorry. Callum Robinson, again, looking sharp, pressing, encouraging. Gets another goal. We know he's a streaky goal scorer, like he'll score, in a few games in a row. So that's good that he's scoring, he's pressing, he looks energetic, he looks fit. So that's another plus. I thought Joel Colwell, he looked aggressive. He put himself about. All the things that we kind of lack in a lot of ways, like that midfielder who can just get up and down and up and down. Like I say, he puts himself about. He helps the defenders, helps the fullbacks. I like his attitude. He's a very much a team player, and he's got more quality, I think, that he's maybe shown in pre-season on the ball. But I thought he had a pretty relatively positive performance, although So at the opposite end to Dylan Lawler, I thought we missed Dylan. I also thought we missed Ruben Colwell. I thought we in the first half we played some decent stuff, some good sort of interchanges and some good patterns of play, which is of course what you want to see from a new manager. But we didn't have that cutting edge in the sort of in and around the box. We didn't create as many chances. I'd love to see the stats. It felt like we didn't create as many chances as we have been. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that's a little bit of a worry that we kind of missed them too at the back and at the front of the pitch. I thought Keane Ashford, I saw a few people saying he didn't play very well. I thought he did all right, particularly in the first half. You know, he works hard. He's technically very good. I don't think he looks at his absolute best at the moment, but I don't think, like, you know, it's pre-season and the rest of it. Like, obviously, next week is the first game of the season. I thought yesterday was a good test, and it highlighted some of the issues that we definitely still have. And it was interesting that Brian Barry Murphy kind of said he wants 2, 3, 4 players in. Now, I don't understand why if we want 4 players in, why we haven't tied them up yet. Particularly when, you know, you speak to people and they're saying, oh, yeah, we've got, you know, a couple lined up and a couple ready. And why haven't we tied them down? And that is frustrating because I think those issues are glaring and they have been since the end of last season. Maybe yesterday just puts our feet on the ground a little bit after, like I said, that QPR performance against the Championship side. It was hard not to be impressed. So maybe that just brings us down to the ground a little bit, which is okay. You know, it's a young squad. You need your senior players. You need your Callum Chambers. I need to see more from Callum defensively. I think on the ball, he's fine. Positionally, he's decent enough. Sometimes I feel like he could be a little bit more intense in the way he kind of presses and attacks the ball. And then on the other hand, you've got Will Fish, who's really good at attacking the ball and pressing high. But sometimes he's a bit naive in his positioning or where he goes to try and win the ball, and it leaves a bit of a space. And then equally, I thought Mafiko, I thought, look for a young kid who's playing at left back for the first couple of times this preseason, I thought he's got better with each game. I think on the ball, he looks fine. Looks maybe a little bit slight, but I think he's doing a decent enough job at left back, filling in. I think the fact that he's been playing at left back as a kind of inverting left back who inverts into midfield and kind of he's the one who's being picked at left back over Louis Giles, probably. And this is a guess, is probably indicating that Louis Giles is going to go on loan. I think that's not the worst idea. I thought Will Spears yesterday had a really interesting performance because he, again, had been really impressive in his other performance in pre-season. I thought yesterday you saw he's got a bit more physicality about him than maybe Capaccio has. But I think he got caught out a little bit positionally, sometimes trying to be too aggressive. So, look, these are young players. They're learning on the job. You have to be patient with them, which is why you need the likes of Salic, Ruben, Callum Robinson, Ryan Wintle, you know, Callum Chambers. All these guys have got to step up because the players around them are very young. I'm still very excited by this team. I'm very excited by the manager and the way he wants to play football. I think I don't think you need to hit the panic buttons. I don't think anything's changed in the respect of we needed probably 3, 4 players. We needed that before. We still need that. Now, what I am interested in is the report from Scandinavia that we're bringing in the goalkeeper Trott. That's an interesting one because, as I had said, I think I've said it a couple of times, it's quite common that a new manager likes to get his own keeper in, particularly a ball playing manager who wants to play like a certain high tempo type of play. And, you know, on the other hand, you could say, well, Halworth and Alnwick are fine for League One, and then we could address it next summer. It's not top of the list. But I always felt like the manager might want his own man in goal. Now, the little bit I know about Trott, I don't know a lot at the moment. Give me a couple of days and we'll get a nice little recruitment report on him. But he looks tidy enough, looks decent. But more interesting to me is, number one, Cardiff last summer did a real good job of keeping the players quiet right until they signed them. I think we commended them at the time about plugging the leaks on the players, and it was really like you found out like a day before they were coming in. And everyone I've spoken to, no one really had him on their radar. But this journalist, by all accounts, in Scandinavia, is a fairly reliable source by what I understand. And he says in the next couple of days that he'll be coming in on loan. And not just that, it'll be a buy to loan option. So we'll be able to buy him at the end of the season. I think I read that it was dependent on us being promoted to the championship, the buy-in option, which I think is a good clause that would suit both sides of the argument. So that's an interesting one. I would imagine that if he comes in, I think one of the main keepers is going to go. I know Halworth has got a relegation clause, so I probably expect him to be the one. When you bear in mind that Alnwick signed a new contract last year, kind of makes sense that Halworth would be the one. But it depends. Clubs have got to want these players if you want to get them out. On the other thing on the transfer market, I've been told by several people now, Kian Atete is not in the plans, and effectively they just want to sell him, buy him, loan him, whatever. But he's not required, shall we say? Which I don't think is a massive shock, other than we kind of get used to Cardiff being a bit inept with that side of things, and you kind of expect us to hold on to him and him still be knocking about, even though he's not a part of the plans. But it looks like he'll be on his way. And I do think that we'll get some players in. Whether we get them in before Peterboro is an interesting one, because it's my understanding that we've had an offer in for a couple of players now for a while, contract offers in different varying degrees of length of time in terms of when we offered them. But for whatever reason, we haven't seen those players come in. So I'm fairly sure when I say that, and I put this on Twitter earlier, that we offered Grant Hanley a contract. He's a free transfer, but obviously he hasn't signed it, or at least he hasn't been announced as we speak. So something's either he's not happy with the contract, or he's not coming, or he's going elsewhere. Who knows? Darko Gyabi's been on the radar for a month, maybe even longer than that. I lose track of time. So we'll see. You had the Tompkinson lad as well from Norwich. I do think we'll see some movement now, because I think that was the first time that Brian Barry Murphy kind of went, no, I want 2, 3, 4 players. Whereas before it was like about quality over quantity, and he kind of didn't dodge the question, but he certainly didn't address it head on, which is, a media thing, and it is what you expect. Right, before we move on to any other bits and pieces, Glenn, I want to go back to the Notts County game as well, because I want to look a bit deeper into some of the performances of some of the players, because I do think a couple of them didn't do their chances of starting next week any harm at all. But JT says Glenn Williams is convinced that Perry NG will be available in a couple of weeks. Must be dead info again, as he was out of the loop on the Trot signing after saying no signings on the radar Friday. Yeah, the Perry NG one is weird, because I've had 2 really good sort of people tell me slightly different things. So I was told initially it was December, and I got no reason to think any different. But someone else told me a couple of weeks ago that it was a 6-week thing, and he's at about 4 weeks now. So that would be a couple of weeks. Like, ultimately, I suppose it can depend on recovery and things like that. Maybe it wasn't as bad as first feared. If you get Perry NG back at his best, right, it's going to take him a bit of time to get fit and all that sort of stuff. But if we can get Perry NG as close to his best as possible, and switched on mentally. What a player to have in League One. Like, he's a real good right back. Yes, he didn't have a great season last year, but, you know, who did really? None of the team did. And we look, there's a certain level of togetherness in that group now that I didn't see last year. We're trying to play some nice football. We're trying to move it quicker. Although yesterday, as I said earlier, I felt like we reverted back to moving that ball a bit slow for my liking. Whereas QPR, when they put it on us, we did move it. We kept moving it quick. So that was encouraging. So, you know, it's pre-season. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. But it's about getting minutes in the legs and understanding. Every player needs to understand the role that Brian Barry Murphy wants them to play in his system. And the team collectively needs to understand the way he wants to play football. And that does take time. I would guess that the reason why we've had so many behind closed doors stuff in pre-season is because he wants to focus on that side of it without fans being there. I think it's an interesting decision. Whether it pays off, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it because, I mean, if it gets results, it gets results, doesn't it? Like, but I am led to believe that was his decision. You know, if you'd asked me after the QPR game, did I think it was a good idea that they've played these behind the closed doors friendlies? I said absolutely, because of the way we played against QPR. But as we keep saying, it's pre-season. You cannot read too much into it. This time last year, Errol Bullitt was playing 5 across the front, and we're getting excited. And then half time in the first game, that was gone. So pre-season is pre-season. Let's go to some comments. Paul says, evening side and the chat. Great to hear from Pearson Chesterfield. Think they both should be applauded for the work that they've done over the last few years. Some real good talent coming through. Future looks bright. Yeah, I think they've done a phenomenal job with the academy players, mate. And it's about getting those players. And I think this sometimes is where people get a bit confused or they don't want to hear it. Like, their job is not just to prepare these young lads, 16, 17, 18 and upwards, for first team football at Cardiff City. Of course, that's the main aim, is trying to get as many through and up to the standard of first team football at Cardiff City. But it's also about getting these players on and off the field ready to have a career in football. They have that responsibility to those lads. And obviously the lads have got to do it themselves. They've got to take their opportunities. I think it was it Darren or was it Gavin? I forget which one of them said now, but one of them said, you know, they've kind of helped them and guided them and stuff. But when they get the opportunity with the first team, they've got to take it. And, you know, over the years, you might see a player get a chance and they don't take it. I think all the young lads who've played in pre-season with the first team have taken their opportunities in that they've shown that they're there or thereabouts or above in some cases the standard required, and that they could be relied on to a certain or lesser degree with different individuals. Yeah. So look, yeah, I agree. They've done a great job with the academy in recent years. Macanish says, fed up of this warm weather. Even when it rains, it's warm. It's that Scottish weather, mate. It's brutal, isn't it? Sunshine too much. Jeff Ellis, Warzone clipping says, time to shut Dyer up. Look, mate, right. This is what I would say about Dyer is I don't know him. I have no idea who he speaks to and stuff like that. The stuff that he has been saying today does not correlate with what I've been told. However, about 3 or 4 very experienced journalists from the UK and Europe have told me before, you should never write off a source because they might say a load of stuff which is wrong, and then one day they'll give you that one little nugget of information. So, look, what he said today doesn't match up with me, but that doesn't mean it's not true, but it doesn't make it true either. Like, you know, and the problem with him is that he loves to wind up Cardiff City fans. He's got a bit of a unique relationship with Cardiff City because he used to follow us and he used to live in Cardiff back in the day. So he's got that kind of relationship and he likes to wind people up. So it's difficult, you know. take it as I said for the last couple of weeks, really, is no matter who the source is, just take it with a pinch of salt. Don't take it as concrete. Don't take it as bullshit. Just take it with a pinch of salt, and it'll all play out. And I will talk about that stuff in a minute, and we'll I'll tell you where I am with it all, and people won't like it, but I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to make things up. So I'll tell you what I've heard and where we are. Thomas, I agree with that. He says Eli King was fantastic yesterday. Agreed. Thought he was really good, and I thought it's right. So Ryan Whittle yesterday when he came on, I thought it was really difficult for him because I don't think he was expecting to come on then. I think I'm not even sure he was going to play because I think they'd said they were going to give Alex Robertson 90 minutes if possible because he had missed a game and stuff. So I think maybe Wintle was going to come on for 10 minutes or whatever, but he certainly wasn't ready to come on when he came on. Yes, you should be ready and stuff like that, but it's preseason where minutes are a bit more managed. So like, how much you're going to get. They're not necessarily changing to win the game or to tactically because they're trying to play things out, try different things, look at different things. We switched to 3 at the back yesterday for a bit. So there's all different elements that go into preseason games. If I was picking the team for next week, I think Eli King starts because I want to start. If it was me, I want to start this first game aggressive, fast, and I want to dominate Peterboro the way we dominated QPR the other day. And with some slightly better final ball and finishing, we could have been 3-4 up at halftime against QPR, and I don't think it would have been unfair to them. Cardiff were exceptional in that first half. Yes, it's preseason, but we can only judge on what we see. But that's the intensity, the speed of movement and passing that I would like to see on Saturday. And I think Eli gives us that extra bit of aggression and that extra yard of pace in the midfield. But saying that, up until yesterday, I thought Ryan Wintle had been pretty flipping good all the way through preseason. So I won't be disappointed with either. We may even see both because Eli can play as an 8. With Robertson out, will he go with a bit more security and go Wintle and Eli and give Eli a bit more freedom to get forward? Or will he go with Di Turnbull and kind of go with the person who's got that vision and the passing technical ability? It's going to be really interesting. Thomas also said he was a bit disappointed with Chambers. Look, it's a tricky one. I think I thought Chambers has been all right through preseason. His pace worries me, and I thought he got there was a couple of times yesterday where I thought he got rolled far too easily by a striker who wasn't massive. Like, it wasn't like he was up against this big unit of a guy and they just had too much for him. So, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. But I think he's been all right through preseason. So I wouldn't worry too much of it. I mean, Macadisha, I'm not going to read your comment out, mate, because, disrespectful to that guy. But, I am open to feedback on what people thought of my performance on Friday, if you listened in. Jeff says, BBC Wales, do side, get your CV in. I think it's a case of who you know, mate, isn't it? Rather than anything else. But there we go. Paul says, thought you did very well as a commentator the other day. The dude, not some, but thought you were better and natural. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that, mate. I really do. So Josh, has any news on Atete and Darland? Right. Atete, as far as I know, we're trying to get him out by hook or crook, effectively. Darland, I can't remember if I said this on show or not, but I'm going to say it now. As far as I'm aware, we were open to selling him all summer, and no one came in. No one made an offer, and there wasn't any interest. But I think he finds himself down the pecking order third choice. And when Perry comes back, if Pacquiao starts the season really well, you may end up seeing Perry NG at centre back. And I don't think that is out of the question anyway, because as Perry's career goes sort of, into the older age group, will he sort of make that transition into centre back? I wouldn't be shocked at all, to be quite honest with you. Steve Davis says, can't wait for Saturday. Bluebirds. Yeah, mate, I'm so excited. I'll be sat right behind the bench. I cannot wait. Sue says, enjoyed your commentary. Thank you. I really do appreciate you. Lewis says, do you find it weird, Si, how there's no rumours about outgoings? Thought there would be some links, but none. Yeah, it is. It's odd, mate. Not outgoings and ingoings, because we all know we need 3 or 4. We've all known that. The club know that. The player, the manager knows that. And then on the outgoings front, there's a few players who just don't think they're going to play. They don't seem to fit. And yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? It is weird, mate. And I can't tell you why. I've asked the question about 60 million times to 60 million different people in the club and said, is the delay on transfers because of any sort of takeover talks and things like that? And the message I get is, no, it's the manager. But then you speak to people around the club and they don't know. No one seems to know what's going on. So it's a fascinating one. Macanish says, Si, takeover from Rob Phillips on the BBC phone and you're a natural. Mate, don't tell me. I appreciate it, of course. Tell the BBC Wales. Inundate them till they've got no choice. That's what I say. Ryan Walters says, right, Daya, and he quotes him and he says, Darman on Saturday will tell you how many offers have been made, but not acceptable as it stands, how committed to the club Tan is now and in the future. So, again, like what I was saying with Daya about, like, some of the stuff he said has been spot on. And even with that, like, there's elements of something to it. Like, for instance, I believe Mehmet Dalman is going to speak to the trust and the FAB before Saturday's game. I don't know when that is, if that's in the week or before, before the game. But from what I gather, and there'll be other people who'll be able to tell me this who are involved in the FAB and the trust who'll be much more knowledgeable on the fact. But as far as I know, he does that every year, or someone from the board speaks to them right before the first game. In terms of the takeover stuff, I would think it's going to come up, and you'd think they have to give some level of clarity to it now. Whether it's talks are ongoing, can't say anything else. Whether it's not for sale, like, they've got to give a bit of clarity. I would think. I would ask, how does Daya know what Mehmet Dalman's going to say next week? But apart from, like, he's not wrong in the intimation that he's going to speak to the fans, because that's a prearranged meeting. Josh says, was previously a captain Matthew Apter at Blackpool. Previously a captain Matthew Apter. Blackpool just sold his brother for a lot of brass. Interesting. Yeah, Manny's only a scholar, which is mad, but so was Dylan Lawler, mate. I just think Manny Barton might get, like, a bench appearance in one of the cup, like the Domino's Cup or whatever it is. Papa John's. Yeah, it is or it isn't it? We shall see. De Bono is a top talent, mate. CCFC Insider says De Bono is top talent. Played up for quite a while. Yeah, mate, honestly, it's the first time I've watched him for 90 minutes, and I was very, very impressed. Almost on all aspects of his game. It was very, very impressive. And again, I'm getting to Luke Pearce, mate. Don't worry. Give me time. Macanish says, I don't mind the lack of transfers to finally play the club's future club players as in the youths. Dylan Lawler must be extended. Yeah, mate. Well, they've extended it as much as they can for the time being. I don't know what to tell you. But I wouldn't expect any good news anytime soon. So Jeff says no mention of Luke Pearce. Right, Luke Pearce on Friday night for the under-21s looked a level above. And I'll tell you why he looked a level above. he looked like a player who is a first team player who was playing down, like, like back in the day when first team players used to come back from an injury and they play with a reserve team. And obviously more modern times, they play with the 21s. He looked like a guy who was a first team player who was playing to get fit. Physically, he was so aggressive, right? Every time the centre-back, the ball went near the centre-back, he just could not deal with the physicality of Luke Pearce. He was all over him, pinching the ball off him. The amount of chances he turned over or created from turning over the ball. And again, I've seen Luke Pearce a few times now for the first team and off the bench and stuff in the cups and for the 21s. I do think he should be considered. And when you consider you've got him, Robinson, Isaac Davis, and then Salic, I do think that's a good mix. Now, you haven't got a direct like for Salic in terms of the height, but I think they all offer something different. And I think what Luke Pearce offers different to Isaac and Callum Robinson is physicality. Like, he might not be as tall as Yusuf Salic, but he's a physical striker. Run the channels really well. His link-up play was really really good. And his finishing was pretty spot on. Another hat-trick against Merthyr. They'll be glad to see the back of him. But, Luke Pearce was super impressive. And look, if Brian Barry Murphy's going to look at the young players on performances and, if they're playing well for the 21s, they might get in the squad or on the bench. You'd imagine Luke Pearce is going to be thereabouts. And I think I've said this a load of different times. For me, for the first team on the bench in league games, I want to see a keeper. I want to see cover that can play both sides, fullback and a centre-back. And then the rest of those subs, I want them to be midfielders and attackers to give you the maximum amount of options from a creative standpoint. And that's why a player like Joel Colwell, Andy Rinamotta, these kind of utility players are so important because, Joel Colwell effectively, and I actually think he might end up playing fullback against Peterborough, but I'll get to that in a minute. Joel Colwell can play fullback, centre midfield, 6'8", 10. Probably he could play on the wing, play as a wing back. Like, he's so versatile. So having players like that in the squad is really important. Now, you could argue for a young player, they need to master the craft of one position. Of course they do. But equally, they're handy to managers. Really, really handy. Let's have a look. De Bono. Lewis says Alex Robertson looks miles off it. He looked frustrated, I thought, yesterday. He looked like angry, like he had been fouled a couple of times and he didn't like that they kept doing it. He's got a technical ability, isn't he, right? And you'd like to think that once he gets up and running and he's fit, that he'll be, back up to where he can be. I guess he doesn't look up to the standard that we saw at the start of last year. And he does look a bit off it. But he could also be one of these players who starts slow in pre-season. Because remember, he joined, I can't remember exactly when he joined, but he joined into the pre-season last year. So he might have already been relatively fit. So it didn't take him as long to kind of hit the ground running. And he was injured, I think, actually, when he recovered. Was he injured? Did he have a hamstring injury? I forget. But my point being, there's some players takes him a bit longer to get going. But when they get going, they're fine. Yeah, I think Paul says Luke Pearce will do well with the regular under 21 games. I think he'll be one of them which kind of jumps between the two, be on the bench for the first team, play for the 21s. It's important that these young lads play football as well. And this was my thing with Turner, Matthew Turner, is I don't know how much he benefited last year to just sitting on the bench and training with the first team, but not playing any games. I don't even know how many games he played, but I know it wasn't many because he was always with the first team as the sort of third choice. Or when the other two had injuries, he was on the bench, but he was never playing. His age, he needs to play. I get it's slightly different with keepers, but he's got to play. Like, got to play football. Thomas says, I feel like Lawler is thriving with that pressure. Yeah, Dylan Lawler is, I don't know what else to say about him. He's special. And I know some people don't like me heaping on the praise, but I can only say what I see and give an honest opinion on that. And when he plays badly, I'll do the same. But you've got to give him time. We as fans collectively have got to expect him to be inconsistent, and we've got to give him time to flourish and grow as a player because he's 19 years old. He's a kid. But at the moment, he is just taking it in his stride and getting better with each game. That ball which he played into the midfield for Ruben Colwell's goal against QPR was such a good ball. And so many times I would have seen us last year just go out to the right to the fullback or put a foot on the ball, really slowly turn, go to the left, go back. And he didn't. He played like a lovely reverse ball, broke the lines, through the press, and then a long switch, a beautiful switch ball out to the left. And then it comes to Ruben and his top bins. Like, that is BBM ball, isn't it? Like, breaking lines, switching play, moving the ball quick. It's going to be exciting to watch. Like, I really, really got to say, no matter what happens, I think it's going to be exciting football to watch. I cannot wait for Saturday. And I'm going to be watching him like a hawk over his shoulder. I'm hoping he's going to give me a tactical masterclass. Steven says, this problem with yesterday's game, no signings and no strength in depth. So, it's tricky, isn't it? Because I thought physically in the second half, we got bullied a little bit. And I think you have to expect that this year, that we're going to get that physical challenge. Eli King's not small. And it was interesting that we started to get physically dominated as he tired and then went off. He does give you that little bit of extra physicality. And I wonder for certain games whether we might see a Wintle and Eli King central midfield partnership. Will we go with, although he does seem to think that Fancy Chambers is a centre back, which is encouraging in that I don't want to really see him in midfield. But I do wonder whether we may see like a Chambers King if we need to be a bit more physical in the midfield. Who knows? But yeah, it's fascinating, I got to say. Sue says, if it looked unlikely us being able to keep Lawler, would you reluctantly take a deal with add-ons and have him back on season loan? No, if it was up to me, I would keep him and I would run the risk that he goes on a free, because I would bank on the fact that if he plays and excels, that he and his agent will think that the best thing for him is to play week in, week out at Cardiff City for his development and his career. And I hope that he would sign a contract later in the season. And then equally, if he doesn't, then you get compensation anyway, because he's come through the academy. But it is a tricky one, because they'll get offered, I would imagine, 700 grand, 800 grand or whatever, maybe less, at some point before the window closes, I think. And if people don't, like, I'm surprised, because I think it's a no-brainer if I was a lower Premier League club, Championship club, to try and get him on the cheap. Because if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it works out, it's a great bit of business. Ironide, One Love, Culture Vulture says, our defence looks weak, which is a shame, as midfield and attack look good between the teams that played QPR and Notts County. Yeah, I just thought we lacked a little bit on the final ball yesterday in attack, but I thought the patterns of play were really good. The switches of play are really good. And also the ball from Eli King was excellent for Yusuf Salic's goal. So, yeah. But I do agree with you. Defensively, we look weak. We've got to get the right combination of centre-backs in there. We know the fullbacks are going to be quite aggressive, or certainly on the right-hand side, they're going to be quite aggressive in terms of getting forward. Joel Bagan's going to look like he's going to sort of tuck in and invert into midfield by what we've done in pre-season. Don't hate that, because I think that gives you a nice sort of balance, and you know that Capacchio or Spears is going to get forward. So yeah, I'd love to know where people's heads are at now. Assuming we don't get a player in time to play next Saturday, what is your starting lineup now, today, after seeing that Notts County game, after seeing a really impressive performance by QPR? Where's your head at? What's your team? What's your back four? What's your midfield? CCFC Insider says would have played with Lawler though, so they'll have a nice partnership. Oh, you mean, I think you're talking about De Bono. Yeah, I mean, look, imagine that for the future, isn't it? Yeah, Mark says Robertson was way off the pace regardless of injury. Yeah, but he definitely looks a yard off it. But I think we know he's got that technical ability. I thought he was really good and really important part of the team before his injury last season. So I'm not worried about him in terms of the whole season. If he's still at the club come the window shut, I'm not worried about him being good enough, if that makes sense. Now, I could be worried about him making a slow start and, taking half a season to get going. Then, of course, that's a worry. And he might find himself on the bench then, because there is options. Joel Colwell, whilst I don't think we've seen the best of him on the ball yet, or in like pre-season, off the ball, his work rate, his energy and his aggression are relentless. And I think, of course, guessing, but I think Brian Barry Murphy will like that. That seems like the sort of thing he would like, because we were so relentless against QPR in that first half. I feel like players who were able to keep that aggression and pace and intensity are players that he's going to like, particularly if they've got the ability on the ball to then play with it when they win it or when they turn it over. I think we're going to be a very transitional side as well this year. As good as we're going to want to try and play football, like 1 and 2 touches, I think we're going to score and create a lot of chances from turning the ball over high up the field. Ruben is very good at pinching the ball. So is Robinson. Then you've got, Isaac Davis is good at pressing. Keane's got this weird ability to look like he's not tracking his man, and then he sprints for a couple of yards and he gets his hip across and pinches the ball off the winger. He did it time and time again last year. So I can see us winning a lot of balls high up the field in there, just inside their own half, the other team's half, and then creating from there. And then, of course, you've got Wintle and Eli King, Joel Colwell, Di Turnbull. I think that's probably a weaker part of his game. But when he gets the ball, he's got good vision and good passing. Got some good options in the midfield, I think. CCFC Insider says De Bono played up several occasions last year. He did. Yeah, Lee says Robertson needs to curb his temper a little bit too. Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? Because he did seem to get really, really, really frustrated. And I actually thought he should have been sent off. But it's a preseason friendly, so of course they don't. But then I also thought that tackle on him was naughty, and that should have been a red card. But my opinion in preseasons, it shouldn't be a red card, but they should tell the manager, look, if you don't take him off, I'm gonna send him off effectively. But I agree with Lilo. Like, he's got to be able to control his emotions. Maybe there's a bit of frustration there because he's not quite up to speed. And he feels like there's nothing worse than wanting your body to do something, and like your mind and your body don't link up. So your mind is like, yeah, I want to do that, and your body just doesn't want to work. Darland had a similar sort of cut, and it healed in 3 weeks. So hopefully Robertson won't be out for too long. Yeah, it would look deep, didn't it, rather than wide. Couple of stitches, hopefully. Thomas says, how can BBM get Salic and Robbo win the same starting line 11? In my opinion, look, I mean, he could do it a whole range of ways. We could play 3-5-2, play 4-4-2. He could play in the 10. I think that would be a mistake. I personally think for the time being that balance is more important. So I'd rather see an Isaac Davis out on the left than Callum Robinson. But I won't be shocked if Callum Robinson plays off the left because he does look sharp. Don't know. I'm still waiting for Chris Willock to really kick on. He looks like he's lacking a bit of confidence or a bit of belief. But yeah, I think you probably got to try and fight, especially because when you take into account that Callum Robinson's that sort of streaky character, streaky goal scorer, I think you take that into account, then you got to try and get him in the starting 11, haven't you, while he's in this scoring streak. So I could see him playing off the left and getting right in. It's interesting, right? Because if Kepakia was on the left, you could almost have Robinson start as a winger and then be right up and I almost have like a bit of a free roll off the left to go right up with Salic and be a second striker because Kepakia is so aggressive, but Bagan is at the moment is sort of more inverting into midfield. And if Robinson goes right up with Salic, it leaves a bit of a space. But then I suppose you could argue that gives a bit of space for Ruben to drift into. So I think we'll see lots of rotations, but I do agree at the moment you'd be looking at Callum Robinson and how you can get him in that starting 11 without throwing the balance off too much. Thomas also said Robinson could have been sent off. I agree with that. Mark says Eli King's pushing hard for a starting place, and in my opinion, can't completely agree with you, mate. I think he's really, really. I keep changing my mind between him and Wintle, and 1 minute I'm going, I want Eli's aggression, his size, is that just that extra yard of pace, and then I think, well, we've got a young side. It's the first league game of the season. Wintle just sort of doing his thing, going about his business, breaking up play. His experience could be vital. So I keep changing my minds. CCFC Insider says maybe Callum Robinson is an inverted winger, left winger. Yeah, I could see that. I think Thomas thinks Eli King was the standout player. Yeah, I'm in that boat. Like Thomas just says there, he says, I don't see Robbo as a winger or a 10. Yeah, I don't see. I prefer him as an out-and-out 9. But yeah, Sue says Joel Colwell was really liked him yesterday. He is a workhorse. And we have a lack of wingers, though, don't we, really? We haven't got like an out-and-out winger outside of Nyakahawa. Now, do you think the manager will trust teenage like Nyakahawa to start the first league game of the season? Because I really like him. He's direct. He's like an old school winger. All the other wingers we have are like inside forwards. Do we need an out-and-out winger? I don't know. Depends how he wants to play. But we shall see, I suppose. Yeah, a few people saying about Callum Robinson. Steve saying clubs holding on to players until the last minute can be an issue. Yeah, of course. And particularly with the loans, I think, the young players tend to go on tour, like Premier League tours. They'll go on tour and then they'll come back and they'll go on loan. So you've got to be patient. You've got to wait for them. And I think a lot of the sort of feedback and whatever you want to call it I'd be getting is that it's going to be loans, freeze, and we're not going to spend a lot of money this summer. But who the devil knows? Because one thing you can say is this owner, he does find money when we need it for a sign-in. You look at Salic and Darland. Like, he found the money for them when we wanted them and we needed them. So, if a player comes up that the manager really wants, you'd like to think that it'll get going. But Joel, that's an interesting one. Josh says Joel Caldwell reminds him of an old school Joe Rawls, getting stuck in and busy. Nice. Thomas says Mafiko isn't a left back. He's not. He's a central midfielder, and he's a decent one at that. CCFC Insider says Fish has struggled. I think Fish has struggled this preseason, positionally being found out against teams like Southend and Notts County. Not convinced on the ball. I think he's all right on the ball. I think positionally, I'm more concerned because I'd back him to win a duel, aerial or on the floor. I'd back him to win the ball. But I notice a lot when he chooses to go and try and win the ball. He leaves gaps and he doesn't think about what's behind him. And he does it on set pieces as well. He'll leave his space and he'll go with his man. And yeah, he switches off set pieces. He switches off for runners. And yeah, I'm not sure where I stand with Will Fish, because I think he's our most natural out and out defender in terms of just high balls, header them away, stuff like that. And I think we'll need that this year. But if you assume that Dylan Lawler gets one of the centre-back slots, if we're not playing three, I could see it going to Callum Chambers to put an experienced head in what is a very young defence, especially if we sign this Trot keeper, who I think he is 23, isn't he? So that's another relatively young player. I could see the benefit of playing Callum Chambers alongside Bagan and Kepakiao and Spears and Fish and Lawler. They're all young. So I that's why I think Chambers, because I don't think Chambers has been drastically better than Fish, although I think he's been a little bit better on the ball maybe. It's just, I just think we need a centre-back, ultimately. I think we need an experienced centre-back, particularly because for whatever reason, Jesper Dahlon's not involved. And he was someone who I thought might do all right under this manager because he likes to play with the ball and he likes to get the ball at his feet. He's not getting a look in at the moment. CCFC says Fish is so bad positionally. I don't know if he's terrible, but I think it's more like a concentration thing. He switches off. So he'll be all right for 40 minutes or 30 minutes. And then he just completely switches off. And look, he's not the only one. Last season, Perry and G did it. It's doable when you're not feeling it or you're not in form or you're not completely focused. You switch off and you get punished. And we will get punished because teams will be bang up for playing us and they will want to get at us to get an early goal or to get a goal, hold on to it because they feel that our confidence is going to be shaky, especially early at the season where you're coming off the back of a relegation. Teams will fancy that if they can get one against us, that we will mentally fall apart because we've had such a bad season last year. Whereas, if 10 games into the season, we've won 9 and drawn 1, it's different, isn't it? It's a different mentality. There's a different confidence flowing through the team. At the moment, I think there's still a little bit of we could fall apart here. Ironically, Dylan Lawler brings an air of calm. 19 years old. Paul says, I think these young defenders need an older, wise head to help them. Well, I think that's the idea with what's his head, Grant Hanley, isn't it? Is that he'll be the kind of leader, the old guy. But I don't know. I don't know where I stand with Grant Hanley. I'll obviously back him if he comes in, and I'll give him a chance and all that if he does come in and sign. But his lack of pace and mobility does worry me a little bit. But what he will bring is what Will Fish does in terms of winning headers. Grant Hanley will do that to a higher level. again, like, he will just win everything in the air. He'll do everything in terms of his aerial duels. But yeah, on the floor and in behind, he could be turning a lorry. But there we go. Yeah, I agree. Anon Fish wasn't great yesterday. He wasn't the only one, mind. There was a couple I didn't think were quite up to what they've been like earlier in the preseason. I think loan market's going to be a big thing for us, isn't it? Yeah, we don't know. We're too nice. Thomas says, I agree. One of the things we talked about at the game yesterday was we don't have any players that are nasty, horrible, in-your-face types. Completely agree. We are too nice. And funny enough, there was a little thing on the under-21s game on Friday, as there was like a foul by the Cardiff winger. I think it was Trey George. He fouls the guy. It's a foul. Referee gives a foul. And then as he's walking back, as Trey George is there, and the guy who's been fouled, Captain Amirtha, is like walking past Trey George. He flicks out a leg and kicks him. Just petulant, just stupid. Ref didn't see it. Cardiff bench saw it, but the ref didn't see it. And he didn't react. Like, he didn't do anything. So on one hand, you're like, good for you, kept you cool, didn't rise to the bait, all that stuff. But on the other hand, it's too nice, isn't it? Like, don't let people push you around, sort of thing. So I definitely think we could do with someone in the middle of the pitch who's just a nasty little so-and-so. I think Wintel's got a bit of aggression in him like that, haven't he? And Perry NG has definitely got like that shithousery in him. He loves that. And actually, sometimes he gets too caught up in that. So I think that's like a start. Eli King, we need to get him to be just a bit more nasty because he's got the physicality and the aggression in the way he plays. Just try and get him to be a bit nastier in the best possible way. Sue says Trot could be the start of the incomings. Mick says, in fairness to Keane Ashford, he was never a wide player. When he broke into the 21s, he was a midfield player. Scored most of his goals breaking through the middle. Yeah, he's always been a 10, mate, haven't he? He's always played just off a striker. And interestingly, Rhys played him off the 10 towards the end of the season, off the striker, didn't he, in the 10 towards the end of the season. I mean, you need versatile players, don't you? I like Keane Ashford on the right. I think he does a good job, and I think he will work well with Kipakio as well, with Ruben just inside. I think that could be quite a dangerous thing. And I think Keane's decision-making, when he does get in behind the fullback, is really good. I would just like to see Keane Ashford sometimes either lay the ball off and then straight in behind the fullback to have the ball back after a little triangle, or I would like to see him feint going short and spin in behind the fullback, because when he gets behind the fullback, 9 times out of 10 he makes a good decision whether to pull it back to the person at the edge of the box or the penalty spot, to whip it across the goal. There was a good one yesterday. He hit it first time cross across the goal. Robinson slides in and doesn't quite get there, but it was a great ball. I'd like to see Keane do that a little bit more, like get in behind the fullback, because I don't think he's the quickest in terms of being like a direct winger who's going to dribble at his opponent. But I do think he's got the football IQ and the cleverness and the guile to get in behind with his movement. And I think we've got the players to find him, and the way we're going to play under Brian Barry Murphy with minimal touches, quick balls, quick interchanging. That type of intelligent movement from Keane Ashford will really reap the benefits of that. So, yeah, that's just my quick opinion on Keane, because I think he had a good season last year. CCFC Insider says, from what I've seen, Trot, it's obvious why BBM wants him. Just distributes the ball quick, which is integral to their style. Quick. How Earth and Almec distribute at pedestrian pace. They do, mate. So slow, isn't it? Yeah, and look, Thomas is there. I thought some of Keane's decision-making yesterday was poor. And that's why I was specific about his decision-making when he gets in behind is really good, or when he gets into an attacking area, when he's got to choose, do I shoot, do I cross, do I whatever, like that's really good. He's got to work on other aspects of his game, and part of the stuff he needs to work on is build up play and when to move it quick, when to slow it down, when to go back, etc. Like it's all part of learning as a young player, isn't it? Lee says Trott looks like a good shot stopper. Not seen much of the other areas. Anon says Kipakio's ready to start for us. Eli King, Joel Colwell, Ruben, and my starting midfield for Peterborough. I love that, and I'm not even gonna say like I would do this. I love it, absolutely love it. I don't think you'll get 90 minutes out of those three. I think you'd have to bring in like a Wintle or a Turnbull at some point. But I don't hate it for the first game of the season. Home, boom. Young, aggressive. Like it. Good ball players. Kipakio, yeah, I agree. I think Kipakio's got a big opportunity with the NG out. As has, Spears, if they like it. Trot looks good on YouTube, like Kanga. Come on. I'm not even convinced Wilfred Kanga's a real footballer. CCFC Insider says, wouldn't be surprised to see a mutual termination with a Tete. And do you know what, mate, right? I'm going to try very hard not to go off on a rant here, but giving him a new contract last year was the most ridiculous, shameful, and embarrassing thing I've possibly seen in a long time from certain recruitment team people, because there was no need to give him a new contract and send him out. Like, just he was never going to be up to the level. But to give him a new contract and make out like that was a good decision and he's going to go on loan to Bolton, and like, just embarrassing. What a poor decision. Every man and their dog could see that wasn't the way to go. But it's a problem, isn't it? It's going to cost us money. If we release him by mutual consent, we're going to have to pay him off. When we didn't need to pay him off because he was out of contract. Didn't need to give him a contract. Absolutely shocked. Anon says Alnwick proved yesterday why he doesn't start. Poor. Couldn't care less. He does work around the community bin. I just don't think either of the keepers are good enough to be a number one for us. Ultimately, I would like to bring in a keeper who's better, and then I wouldn't be bothered which one we kept. I don't think either one of them is great. But there we go. Macanish says, it seems silly as we don't have loads of strikers. I mean, we got 4. Kyle says he doesn't think Hanley would drop down to League One. He's coming towards the end of his career, mate. He's been released by a championship club. And he was at Birmingham last year in League One. So I think Thomas said I'd sell Perry. Yeah, he's injured knee, so I don't think he's going to be fit before. When does the window close? End of August, isn't it? JT says loan Mafiko and Spears out near the end of the window. Yeah, I mean, if Perry is back soonish, you could loan Spears out and get him some real good football this year. But I would definitely put a recall clause in his contract because I do like him and I do think he's very good. But I think he needs to play to get better. But I would have a recall clause in there just in case Perry's injury plays up again. Although I won't be shocked to see Joe Colwell at fullback at some point. Mafiko, I think I would loan. I think he could do with going National League, League Two, get kicked about a bit, but also excel as a central midfielder. I think that'd be good for him. Jesus, that's gone real quick, that hour. Let's have a quick look, see if there's any comments. Gavla says, interesting who's going to be captain. I think it's between 3 people. Would you like to know who those three people are? In my opinion, I think it's between Ruben, Ryan Wintle, and Callum Chambers. And I can't quite decide which one I think it should be. I can almost make an argument for all of them. I think between Ruben and Chambers, probably. It's an interesting question, Gavin. So they're not friends no more, are they? No, I'm joking. Yeah, they hate each other now. Yeah, I'd imagine so. Look, people saying about Daya, like I don't know what to tell you, right? I think that he's changed his mind about 10, 15 times. Now, all I can nothing's really changed in this takeover business, which is why I haven't talked about it much. There's talks are ongoing. The club ultimately need to probably shut it down in some fashion. Yeah, they need to say either there's talks ongoing, there's a couple of bidders, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's agreed. We're going to go with that. We'll let you know when something happens. Or they just need to go, the club's not for sale, Vincent Tan's staying. And just, that's it. Because last week I had people texting me and it was like, oh, he's done the EFL proper fit and proper tests. Well, I was able to check that. And two other people who I know were able to check that relatively quickly. And he haven't. Then I had to text in, oh, Vincent Tan's just arrived in London. And I was like, well, he's not, because I knew where he was, or I knew someone who knew where he was at the time. So it was like, just, it's silly stuff. But I get it, because we're all excited. We all want it to happen. But I don't know what to tell you other than if people want clickbaity shit and people to make up stuff and just go into every unsubstantiated rumor. I don't know. This is probably not the channel for you like that. And I don't I don't want to drive anyone away. I welcome all Cardiff City fans of all opinions, because everyone's got an opinion, but we're just not going to do it. I'm trying, it's more, I said earlier to someone, right? For me personally, it's my channel overall. I own it in terms of, and then all the people who work here and stuff. Ultimately, it's more important for us and me to be right than first. And I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to be as authentic and as honest as I can. Sometimes I won't be able to talk about certain things. Sometimes I will. Ultimately, it is what it is, right? And we're just going to have to let it play out. If I hear any different from either side, I will talk about it and update. At the moment, the kind of auto side are confident that they're putting together a good package, and Cardiff say it's nowhere near done. And anyone who says that it is near done is talking nonsense. And that's basically where it is. And they'll have the meeting with the trust and the FAB and all that, and they'll say whatever they say. Yeah, good to see you, Jamie, at the under 21s game, mate. I was loving being in the Anderson's on tour picture. Felt like I had made it finally, mate. No, I loved it, mate. It was great to meet you and great to have a chat with you all and your wicked family, mate. Anon says Wintle and Eli is a good shout in midfield, allows Ruben to keep the press high. Yeah, I like that, mate. I do like that. But I like the legs of Joel Colwell and Eli King. Martin, just say your knowledge of the youngsters was amazing. Smashed it, mate. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the comments who said about the co-commentating and all that sort of stuff. It's been quite cool. I've had a lot of messages, and I know we want, or they've wanted for the list has always been the left back. They're not too, from what I know, they're not too worried about right back. They want a left back, centre back, and they want a winger. The winger is a big one that they want. They want a proper winger, and then the goalkeeper was the sort of fourth one. And like I said, what did I say earlier about the pre-season stuff. And then I just saw now Kyle just said the Inside Club just posted centre back, left back, winger lined up, delayed due to clubs on pre-season tour. That's what I said earlier, and it's natural, isn't it? The last I heard was 13,000, mate. I will try and find out that, though. It would be nice to get a massive crowd, wouldn't it, on Saturday against Peterboro and just have a really aggressive, fast start. Roger says he thinks he'll get Eli King get plenty of time this year, but given the number of youngsters we have, we need to start the season with some experience in front of the back. So I go for Wintle. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm like leaning. I'm sort of I'll just go in and go in and go in and go in. It's difficult, isn't it? Lewis saying how many incomings we've seen this week, mate. Honestly, I felt like for the last 3 weeks, it's like this week they're coming, this week they're coming. One day we might sign a player. That's the first time I've seen BBM go like say we need X, Y, and Z, or like we need like 1, 2, 3, 4 signings. So that is encouraging because that would indicate to me that they are coming. And you'd think they want him in before the Peterborough game, right? But I don't know. I would like to see Luke Pearce get a chance off the bench. I think there's something there that's a bit different to the others. Like Luke Pearce, I think he's the sort of guy, right, who you could put on off the bench with 10 minutes to go against tired defenders, and excuse me, and he would just cause mayhem. Because he is just so difficult to deal with. He just causes problems and makes defenders make mistakes. And I would like to see him get an opportunity. I really would. GDM United said, I am a Leeds fan. Just wondering if Peter Risdale's still your chairman. Nice chairman at Preston, mate. So we shall see. Grange report just said about the tweet from Inside Clubs as well. So, yeah, there's some stuff. Right. Hour and 20 minutes, boys and girls. So, yeah, left back, centre back, winger, and a goalkeeper is what I had said a couple of weeks back. So, hopefully, we shall finally see them come in. Jamie says he loves BBM and his honesty. I think the players will like that too. Yeah, I think he's... you don't want to go too early, but I think everything I've seen on the pitch and from him and Lee Riley, I'm very positive about what we're going to kind of build under them. I think we got ourselves a good one there, ladies and gentlemen. Sav says his 11 would be Halworth, Bagan, Fish, Chambers after the next game. So he'd go with Fish and Lawler, but Chambers would come in, Kipakiao, Eli King, Joel Colwell, Ruben Colwell, Ashford, Tanner, Salic. A lot of people going for that Eli, Joel, Ruben trio. Yeah, Joel Colwell loves a tactical foul. That's good, though. That shows experience. Dan says Halworth, Kipakiao, Lawler, Fish, Bagan, King, Wintle, Ruben. So he's gone for that solidity. And then Tanner and Ashford as the wingers. Do you think Tanner's done enough to start in pre-season? Just asking a question. So I will do a recruitment report on Trot this week. I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I've got to just give me a day or two. I'll have it out on Tuesday. Don't forget, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Newport City Radio in the morning with Si. Play some bangers, play Guest of the Year, and we'll start your week off right. Make sure you tune in. You can listen on digital radio, tune in radio, or just on Newport City Radio's website. But always appreciate it. You can speak to me on WhatsApp during the show as well. Let's have a look. Any more comments? Richard says about the Merthyr game. Did you enjoy it? Yeah, I really, really did enjoy it. I enjoyed watching the youngsters. And so Friday night or Friday afternoon, I met someone for coffee in town. And then I was on my way home and I had a text saying, do you want to do this tonight? I was like, I don't know. I've never done that. Do you want to do co-coms? I was like, oh, do you know? I just went, do you know what? Yeah, go on, give it a go. I think I like to put myself outside my comfort zone a little bit. You know, that's how I ended up doing the radio at Newport, because I wanted to put myself outside my comfort zone, and I did it, and I love it. I love doing that, and I had the opportunity to do co-coms. I was a bit nervous about it because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it, having never done it before. But all of the feedback has been amazing, both from Cymru Sport and from people who were listening on the night as well, and people who've messaged since. So I appreciate that massively. Honestly, it's wicked. Yeah, Eli King as centre half is, I think that's a real possibility, Sean, next week with Fish's form a bit sketchy and no Chambers there. I think it's a big possibility we might see there. But Trott is 26, is he? I thought he was a bit younger, but I mean, yeah, that's a good age for a keeper. We shall see. Right, I got to go. I'm proper late. I'm going to whiz through these. If you're not a member, please do become one. It's I really appreciate it. The Omar Reset interview, I've had a bit of an issue with the edit. It'll be out. Like, it's not like it's lost or anything. It's just, just one of them things. It's just taking time, minute by minute, literally. But there we go. It's like 2.5 hours. So, yeah, it's all good. Appreciate you all. Manny Barton was absolute fire, Johnny, when he come on. He was just caused mayhem. Another one to keep a good eye on. I think he might get some minutes off the bench in the cup this year. And yeah, Eli King's played like plenty of League One games. Ryan Wintle has as well, so they got a bit of experience there. Cannot wait for Saturday. John Motson, I'll get my John Motson coat, yeah. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll be invited to do it on Cardiff City TV. Maybe. Doubt it. Don't think they like me. There we go. Right. Nice one, guys. I appreciate all 750 odd of you. I'll see you tomorrow. There will be a lunchtime video tomorrow. I'll film it at the radio station in the morning. Then I'll be back tomorrow for Monday Night Live. There'll also be a member show. So plenty of content coming. Got a few ideas for some additional content as well. So I got a video actually coming out on like a tactical look. It's going to be something completely different to what we normally do. And it's going to be a look at the tactical side of Brian Barry Murphy and how he's changing the way Cardiff City play. I will see you soon. Keep the faith. And I'll see you in a bit. Nice one.